What up? I'm Chet Popelka, and this is the Braves TomaBlog. This is the third offseason of the John Capoella, John Hart regime, and the Braves are just as active as ever in terms of transactions once again. They have made 27 transactions already this offseason, according to the amount that I guessed. It feels like a lot. The Braves are always active, and all of this trading, all of this free agent signing, and all of this cutting gives us a lot to talk about on Braves social media. The truth is, I have no idea what to expect. The only thing I know to expect is that our roster will look very different 1 year from now, and then very different again 1 year from that. People will be traded, that much is inevitable, so to get out in front of that, I'm making a video to predict the likelihood of every member of the Braves being traded. This isn't an actual Vegas odds type thing with a percentage, but I do have a system. My system is that I'm going to take every member of the Braves organization and I'm going to rank them with a number either 1 through 5. 1 means that they're the least likely to be traded, and 5 means that they're the most likely to be traded. And keep in mind that I'm talking about likelihood of being traded between now and the end of the 2017 season. With that, I will jump into the players. Freddie Freeman, 0. Freddie Freeman is off the charts. I didn't include 0, but Freddie Freeman gets a 0 because there is 0% chance that Freddie Freeman will be traded. I can guarantee you that Freddie Freeman will be a member of the Braves in 2018. I would bet a limb on that, but our GM already did that. 1s. Dansby Swanson. It's not that Dansby Swanson is 100% off limits, it's just that I think if he were going to be traded, he would have already been traded for Chris Sale. I think that Chris Sale was the best player that was going to be on the trade market in the next calendar year, and we weren't willing to give him up for him. You know, we're not going to trade for Mike Trout. That's not going to happen. So, you know, Dansby Swanson is a franchise caliber player. He's only going to be traded for another franchise caliber player. The Braves have no business exchanging franchise caliber players right now, so Dansby Swanson's here to stay. Kevin Maitan. I don't think that Kevin Maitan is off limits in trade discussions, but he's 16. You know, his value is nowhere near its peak right now, and we would only trade him for a massive fish that we were going to trade for. And if we were going to trade for a massive fish, we have other players that we could trade. I'm not guaranteeing at all that Kevin Maitan will make his debut as a Brave. I just don't think it makes much sense to be selling him at 16 or 17 years old. Julio Teheran. I don't feel quite as strongly about Julio Teheran as I do about Dansby Swanson not being traded. The thing is that, you know, Julio Teheran's value is probably at its peak last year in a weak pitching market at the trade deadline, and we held on to him. Well, now we probably wouldn't get the return that we could have gotten last year. And if we wanted to flip pitchers, you know, for prospects this year, we have other pitchers that we can do that for instead of Teheran, guys who aren't in our long-term plans like Julio is. 2s. Tyler Flowers. Tyler Flowers is nowhere near the best or most valuable player on the Braves, but he's in a position where his position makes him more valuable than he actually is. As long as he's the starting catcher for the Braves, it makes no sense to trade him. If you trade Tyler Flowers, you might get, you know, a double-A pitcher in return, maybe, but then you'd have to move forward with Anthony Recker and Tuffy Ghostwitch, so there's no sense in trading Tyler Flowers. Touki Toussaint and Max Fried. Touki and Fried had big years in 2015, and their value is probably as high as it's ever been. That said, their value doesn't come anywhere near as high as their ceilings are. And the thing is that as great as they are, if anyone came knocking for Braves prospects, there are other pitchers that they're going to look for before Touki and Fried. Ender Inciarte. I'm taking a big risk by making Ender a 2 because we would not be unwise to trade Ender Inciarte. We could get a great return for him, and we would have Malik Smith ready to take over in center field. That said, we would be fools to trade Ender Inciarte. He's a great player. He's one of the best center fielders in the league. He was a huge part of our late season surge last year. He's a very good leadoff hitter. I think that the Braves are honestly more interested in locking Ender up long-term than they are for trading him. Young bullpen arms, Vizcaino, Mauricio Cabrera, Ian Kroll, AJ Minter. These are all guys who have the ability to turn into great back-end bullpen aces, so there's not much sense in trading them right now when they're young, they're controllable, and they're not nearly as good as they're going to be. And besides, if we want to trade bullpen pieces, we have other guys to trade. Sean Rodriguez. Rodriguez is a steal, being here at 2 years, $11.5 million. We could trade him if we wanted to, and we could get an okay return for him, but he'll definitely make our team a lot better in 2017 and 2018 if we decide to keep him. Keeping him and trying to maximize his value on our team has a lot more merit than trading him. Now for the list of 3s. The 3s are the biggest list. They include guys that we would sell if we're not near the playoff discussion, or guys who aren't off limits in trade discussions. Bartolo Colon and R.A. Dickey. We added these guys to eat up innings, and we fully expect them to do that. If we're good, then they'll be a great addition to the rotation. If we're 10 games out at the All-Star break, there's not much sense in keeping them. Matt Kemp. I go either way on this one because I love Matt Kemp, and he's a great addition to our team and to our lineup, but let's look at the possibility that, let's say he doesn't lose the weight this offseason, and let's say he doesn't affect the lineup the same way this year. He makes a lot of sense to trade and get some of that salary off of our hands. Nick Markakis. Markakis is in the same boat as Kemp, where I think that he's a very valuable asset in our lineup this year, but if the Braves fall flat and Markakis plays well, then he makes a lot of sense to get the salary off the board, get some prospects for him, and open up a spot for Smith and Dustin Peterson. Jim Johnson. Same classes of Kemp and Markakis. If you're winning, Jim Johnson's a great player to have around. If not, it makes a lot more sense to trade him and open up a spot for Mauricio Cabrera or Vizcaino or AJ Minter to be a closer. Austin Riley. Austin Riley's a very good prospect, one that we're very excited to have around. He showed a great ability to make adjustments last season. He's a great prospect, but he's extremely replaceable with Adonis and Rodriguez already here, and Maitan in the minors, and a free agent class coming up with Mike Moustakas and Todd Frazier and Manny Machado and Josh Donaldson all in the next 2 years. Mike Foltynewicz. Foltynewicz is in the same class as Austin Riley on this, where I love him and I really want him to be a Brave for a long time, and I want him to develop into the ace that we saw glimpses of last year. That said, teams love Mike Foltynewicz. You saw the Yankees ask for Mike Foltynewicz for McCann. He could be the guy that lands you a really big fish. The big five high schoolers: Ian Anderson, Joey Wentz, Kyle Muller, Colby Allard, Mike Soroka. We may never require a big fish, but if we're going to get someone like Sonny Gray or Chris Archer, there's about a 100% chance that one of these guys is included in that deal. It sucks because I really want this to be our starting five in 2020, but I don't think it's going to happen. I'm pretty sure we're going to pick another high school pitcher in the draft this year, so it's about to be the big six. Now for the fours. Fours are guys that have more value to us as trade chips than on our roster, or guys that there's a position surplus and someone's got to go. Public opinion has spoken, and no one's excited about Jaime Garcia. Ideally, we'd get 170 innings out of him this year. If we can get 80 by the end of July and then trade him for some prospects about the equivalent of Chris Ellis, then we did a good job. If it's July and we're in the wild card chase, fine, keep him. If not, just trade him. I would rather see Sean Newcomb in the rotation anyway. Rio Ruiz and Adonis Garcia. There's a big surplus at the third base position right now. I am not at all impressed with Rio Ruiz. I think that Adonis Garcia is better, and I think that Sean Rodriguez is better than Adonis Garcia. And we could easily upgrade at the position right now. Trevor Plouffe, Yoharvis Solarte, Todd Frazier, Mike Moustakas, even Evan Longoria will be an option. I'm not saying we need those guys. I'm saying we don't need Adonis Garcia or Rio Ruiz. Jace Peterson, Ozzie Albies, Travis Demeritte. There's one second base position and 3 different candidates, and also Sean Rodriguez can play it. All 3 of these guys are different cadences, where Ozzie Albies is the most talented and should be the starting second baseman by 2018 so long as he's healthy. But if we're going to land Chris Archer, he's going to be in the deal. Demeritte is a very good player, a good power hitter that I would love to see make it to the major leagues, but if we can't find a place for him, then we need to trade him and turn him into a bullpen lefty or turn him into a high school righty. Jace is a good guy and he's been good to have around, but he fits a lot more on a rebuilding team like Philadelphia or Cincinnati or Milwaukee. Mallex Smith and Dustin Peterson. I'm not guaranteeing that either of these guys will be traded during the 2017 season, but they both should be on a major league roster by August. I would love to see them, play out and work out as Braves, and I think that one of them has a future in our outfield, but not together. Sean Newcomb. I don't want to rank Newcomb as a 4. I see him more as a 3.5. I really want him to make it in the rotation this year. I think he started to figure out his control problems last year. But if we're going to make a big-time trade for either an ace or a big-time bat, it's kind of hard to imagine a package that Newcomb isn't in. It's not because he has to go or anything, it's just because he's our best expendable asset at this point. Now for the fives. Fives are the guys that we have good reason to trade, and we don't even really need that much in return. Aaron Blair and Matt Wisler. I haven't thrown in the towel on these guys, but their futures don't look promising, at least as Braves. You've already seen the Braves, trade Tyrell Jenkins and cut Williams Perez. If we keep them around for this year, we're just going to use up their minor league options, sitting them up and down with AAA. It makes a lot more sense to trade them right now for a young power bat or a young flame-throwing high school arm and see if we can hit the lottery in a younger generation. Shea Simmons, Madison Younginer, Lucas Sims. These are guys with promise, but nothing, that we're going to make room for. I think these are the kind of guys that you might trade mid-season for a guy like Juan Uribe or Kelly Johnson. That'll do it. That's pretty much everyone except in, the lower level minor league ranks. Let me know what you guys think, if I misranked anybody, or if I devalued anyone, or if I missed someone. Let me know what you guys think, if I misranked anyone, if I devalued anyone. I really want to know what you guys' thoughts are during trade season. As you know, the Braves are perpetually active during this time. I'm Shep Papelka. This is the Braves TomaBlog. It's a YouTube channel dedicated to talking about the Braves and baseball in general. If that sounds interesting to you, check out the channel, see if it's for you. I hope you enjoyed, and go Braves.